Welcome back, guys. This is Gamer for Life, back with another episode of Microsoft Flight Simulator 2020. In this episode, in this tutorial, we're going to learn about how to do a cold and dark start for A320, which is the default plane inside Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I hope this will be fun for you, and if you find this video useful, just give it a like and do subscribe to my channel. So let's take a peek outside, and it's early fresh morning at Los Angeles International Airport. There aren't many planes at this point in time, and so I've kept the ATC on, and I want to show you how we'll be using it to take off. So first of all, you need to turn on your batteries. Two battery buttons, battery 1 and 2. Let's turn that off. You see the radio turns on, and you turn on the external power, and you see the displays have come on. All the displays are turned on as soon as you turn on the batteries and you switch on the external power. And that's how the displays works, and as well as the radio has also turned on. So now if you see the radio is on, and if we want to turn on the plane, we need to use the APU. So we have auxiliary power unit at the back part of the plane. You can see there the tail with a hole. That's where the APU, the auxiliary power unit, lies. So what it does, it gets power from the external source, and then it channels that energy to start the engines. So first of all, we want to turn the master switch for APU on, and then we want to start the APU. At the start, it just shows on, and if you hover over it, it says unavailable. So when it becomes available, we'll be turning on the APU bleed. So meanwhile, you can listen to the powering up sound of the APU. And you can see the ground services. So we need to get the clearance first. So meanwhile, the APU is starting. Let's request for IFR clearance. Alright, so APU has become available. Now we can turn on the APU bleed, and this will then help channel the energy towards the engine. So let's turn on the fuel pumps as well. Let's acknowledge and then keep turning on the fuel pumps. And now when we click on the engine selector mode, we have to set it to start, and we can turn on the engine 2, and we can go outside to see how the engine 2 is starting. So engine 2 is on the right side, and it should have started moving. Maybe it will take few seconds. Right, let me check. So I think I have incorrectly pressed on, so this is something else. This is de-icing. We want to turn on APU bleed. The moment you turn APU bleed on, it will start channeling the electrical power towards the engine. Now it's starting up, and you can see the progress. So let's also request taxi IFR while the engines are starting. Alright, so see the engine is powering up. Take a few seconds to start. Let's acknowledge. And yeah, it's doing good. So once the engine 2 stabilizes, then we'll be starting the engine 1. Yes. So I think it has stabilized. Yes. So it's time to turn on engine 1. Let's do that now. That's perfect. And now we can turn off external power because APU is on. So when the APU has become available, there's no need for external power because the plane is generating its power through APU. Alright, so engine 1 is powering up. Take a few seconds more. Alrighty. Let's minimize the ATC panel. And this is the pushback tug. So while the engines are starting, you can press Shift P on your keyboard and pushback tug will start moving into position to push your plane back. Alright, so keep an eye on your windscreen for a little push that you will get from the pushback tug, and it's the moment where you have to release your parking brake so that plane can move backwards. So it's gonna happen any moment now. So we have to keep the ATC panel open, because in order to use the pushback options to steer the plane left and right, so there's a pushback and parking brake is released. Now these are the options available, so we can steer the plane left or right through the pushback tug. So we'll need to move it slightly towards the left side, and then we'll be taxiing towards our runway for takeoff. So our runway is 25 right, that we'll be using for taking off. So now let's use ATC panel to steer the plane, and keep in mind that there's a slight delay, and until the ATC reads that message, and then the plane starts making that move. So you have to plan it ahead. So I think that's about it. We'll now request for stopping the pushback. Let's go inside and have a better idea of where we are. It's a slight difference when viewing it from inside compared to when viewing it outside. Once you request stop, it takes a while until the ATC reads the message, and then tug stops moving. So we are done with that. So I'm now gonna turn the comms to AI, so I don't have to manage the communication with the ATC anymore, because we don't need it now. So we're gonna leave the ATC panel there for a while, and we'll now add thrust, release the parking brake, and start taxiing for our runway. Right, let me put it to the right so that we can see it clearly. We have to move to the left following that yellow line. I deliberately selected a ramp which is closer to the starting point of our runway, so that we don't have to taxi for long. The purpose is to focus on how to do a cold and dark start and take off. So don't try to waste time in taxiing. Just a few moments till we reach. Alright, so initial climb altitude is 10,000 feet. So let's set it up, while we are on the way, let's set up for taking off. So this is 10,000 feet, and let's turn on the flight directors. And in default you have to, and let's add flaps 1. So we'll need flaps 1 for taking off. So flight director, you turn one side on and the other side gets turned on automatically. In the fly-by-wire mode, you have to do it independently for both sides. But in the default one, it's just the left one. Okay, so I think we are getting closer, and in a few moments I'll be cutting down the engine thrust, slow down and stop at that yellow line and request for ATC clearance for takeoff. So I'm applying brakes to slow down and want just the plane to touch that yellow line. And since the comms are being managed by AI, so it should automatically request for the takeoff clearance as soon as we touch that yellow line. And there we go. Alright, so we have the clearance. Let's add some thrust while the ATC reads that message, or I read that message. Yeah. Right, so let's get into position. So we'll get into position and then stop and set auto brakes and speed brakes. We already have lowered the flaps to 1, and we have set the climb altitude, initial climb altitude. Yes. So I moved the ATC panel to my second monitor since we don't need it anymore. Alright, in position, cut the throttle and apply brakes. So apply parking brake, and let's now the climb altitude is set. Let's now set the auto brakes to medium in case of rejected takeoff. That's a standard protocol, and apply speed brakes. And the flaps are already set to 1, position 1. Alrighty, confirm from there, and we are good to go. So let's now release parking brake and add power. Push forward on the stick a little bit. Keep your eyes on the midline to keep the plane aligned with that. Okay, so we have V1, and let's rotate. Keep it straight and steady. Positive grind rate. So let's gear up. And let's now set the thrust levers to climb position because auto thrust has already kicked in. Right, and let's turn on autopilot and let's set flaps to 0. Okay, so I think not a bad takeoff, good one. So I hope that you found this video useful. So it will help you in understanding how to do a cold and dark start, and how to taxi to your desired runway, how to use ATC panel, how to do pushback, and finally how to do takeoff. So I hope you like this video. In case you liked it, do give it a like, do give it a thumbs up, and do subscribe to my channel for more upcoming videos. And let me know if you have any comments, if you have any suggestions for upcoming videos, any tutorials that you need specifically. See you then, bye bye, and enjoy.